You're tuning in to another episode of Needle to the Groove, a series dedicated to speaking with vinyl lovers and collectors throughout the world about some of their favorite records and why they bring them comfort not only during times like this, but all the time. I'm your host, Elijah Watson, and today I'm speaking with one of LA's most progressive and inspiring beat makers. Someone who blends his love for jazz, hip-hop, and electronic music into otherworldly and experimental soundscapes you're definitely gonna get lost in. His distinct sound and artistic vision has led to him collaborating with everyone from Kendrick Lamar to David Lynch. He's also the founder of Brainfeeder, the label that is home to some of his influences and peers, from funk god George Clinton to bass wonderkin Thundercat and Hiatus Coyote. As a well-known fan of anime, it makes sense that he's also the man behind the score for Yasuke, a Netflix anime series that tells the story of a black samurai in feudal Japan trying to protect a young child. It's the one and only Flying Lotus. Having created the music for Yasuke, and congratulations on that once again, just what was that experience like translating your music to an anime series like that?
Bringing the music to life was super difficult in terms of just figuring out what the sound of the show needed to be. You know, I think I spent a lot of time just kind of meditating on what I wanted it to sound like, because I just didn't want it to be like, I guess, what people might have already assumed. I didn't want to do the sort of cowboy bebop thing, and I didn't want to do the Samurai Champloo thing. I didn't want to do Afro Samurai. I wanted to have its own identity. So I think a lot of that time, I just kind of figuring out what sound to hone in on took a second. But once I did, I kind of just surrounded myself with the right tools, and just kind of limited myself to like, okay, I can only use these synthesizers and a couple other little bits of making noise and a couple musicians to help out, and that's it. And that, to me, that really kind of helped narrow in the sound of the show, and to help just kind of come up with the sound that unified the series.
Yeah, let's get into the vinyl that you picked for today.
I sat with this album recently, well, maybe last year. I must have listened to this thing like so many times, and it gave me so many ideas. And then I saw some live stuff. I should talk and play it, right? Yeah, he has this the series of, it's like Oxygen in Your Home or something like that. You can see him on YouTube, but it's kind of dope. He has him and a couple other musicians playing the album with synthesizers, all the actual analog synths, like whole room full of them. And it's super dope. It's I don't know if it's for everybody, but when I saw it, it just gave me a whole wealth of inspiration after I saw it. Just thinking about being on stage with a bunch of synthesizers and just synthesizers and stuff. It just was like, oh wow, I could really have fun with that. And that kind of led to a lot of improvisations with my friends, Taylor Graves and Chris Fishman. And Chris is also a big part of Yasuke. He was like the one other person who was kind of around me during the making of it. And he had a hand playing keys on several bits too. But yeah, this record right here, I'm glad I found it immediately, because it was like, oh, this is perfect tie-in to Yasuke.
One, what was your introduction to vinyl? And then like, when would you say that you started collecting for yourself?
There was always records around my family. I was always kind of used to seeing them. It wasn't ever like a weird thing, but I guess in terms of collecting vinyl, I didn't really appreciate collecting vinyl until I really got into crate digging for samples and stuff. And I guess at that same time, falling in love with just other music that I hadn't heard before. You know, sampling, the beautiful part of it is that you get introduced to some beautiful stuff. when you're just kind of like digging for a sample. It's like it could take you down a rabbit hole of like, you know, you start sampling Brazilian records, you find one thing and you just like, it just blows your mind to know that there's so much of this stuff from the 70s. And sooner, like, you end up in a place where I'm kind of in a place where like I don't even hear things anymore to sample. I just enjoy them for what they are and try to maybe learn how to play something or whatever. And I think some other day, maybe I actually have sampled this record, but I think nowadays I'm more inspired to just like actually replay it or try and like figure out what they were doing and make my own thing. Vangelis
Oh, wow.
record. It's another kind of synthesizer-y keyboard record. He's known for the Blade Runner soundtrack and a lot of film score stuff, and he's a person that I got a lot of inspiration from in terms of the score for Yasuke. You know, he's like a synthesizer-based musician. He would score right to picture with the keyboards and stuff. And that was something I really wanted to do with Yasuke, is just be able to set up my stuff so I could just have the screen on and just get busy and just feel whatever the characters were feeling and just play. And that was definitely the spirit of that, I think, was inspired by Vangelis more than just the sound or whatever. I think it's just the spirit of that, just that energy of just trying to be connected to that moment and, you know, not trying to do hella takes and trying to like methodically figure out what it is. Just like you just improvise and you feel it. And getting into a space like that is, I don't know, I love it. He was cool too. Is apparently he don't know how to read music, but he was like, he writing music, but like in weird shapes and stuff, like hieroglyphics and shit.
What?
Yeah, he's a trippy guy.
Wow.
When they announced Yasuke happening, and it was so cool because it was like the cat's out of the bag, you know, finally could talk about the show a bit.
Would you say that the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack is the GOAT anime soundtrack, or do you feel that there's one that even triumphs that?
I think it all depends on what you're going for, right? Like, so you might not want to listen to jazz and what this stuff, the vibe of this. There's, you know, it all depends on your mood. But it is a great soundtrack and a great theme. That opening is, I don't know if anyone's got a better opening still. Tomita, the Bermuda Triangle, and now all these records I've been playing are like cheap, super cheap records. It says, "This is all done by synthesizers. Nevertheless, let's spare our eardrums and keep this one on the shelf." All the Tomita stuff is super inspiring because this guy was making all this stuff with monophonic synthesizers first off. So meaning like everything being played had to be done with one note at a time, you know, and he's playing a lot of these compositions. They're classical compositions. You know, he performs them himself, but they're like some very difficult pieces to play. And you know, he was one of the pioneers of that synth sound and all that. This is like back when people just used this stuff for sound effects for movies or whatever. He was like, well, you know what? Let me try and make some music out of this stuff. And only a few people were at the time. And Tomita was one of those people, and trying to, you know, just like flex all the possibilities of this instrument. These instruments, these crazy, you know, synthesizers that take up a whole room. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And still to this day, there's nothing like it. In the Bermuda Triangle, you know. I wonder what people might have like guessed I would play on this show.
There's also this like playfulness and bounciness to it.
It is, yeah. There's some like playful goofiness. about it. But it's amazing. It's chops.
If you could have any anime soundtrack on vinyl, which one would it be and why?
Last time I said Angel's Egg, oh, man, that's a tough call now. Because I guess there's some stuff that I kind of want from My Hero Academia. There's some cues in that show that are really dope. So yeah, I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. I'm pretty sure they got that though.
Thank you once again for doing this. This has been a great experience, and you definitely tipped me off to like some new stuff that I've never heard before. Definitely gonna check out.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you gonna end up sampling this shit.
Yo, for real. At the very least, just have it as a soundtrack when I'm like tripping or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for sure. I'm Flying Lotus, and you've tuned into Needle to the Groove. Needle to the groove. Needle to the groove.